Right, so apparently nature is dying, the economy is struggling, and Rachel Reeves is being told that trees and newts aren't the problem. Plot twist of the century, honestly. Welcome back to Brit article, where we break down the political chaos so you don't have to. Today we're diving into why England's nature is an absolute freefall, why the government's environmental watchdog just issued a massive warning, and what this all means for Rachel Reeves's grand growth agenda. And spoiler alert, it turns out you can't actually build prosperity on a foundation of dead ecosystems. Wild, I know. Before we get into it, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon because British politics waits for no one, and neither should you. So let's set the scene. The Office for Environmental Protection, which is basically the government's environmental report card teacher, has just released their latest assessment, and it's not pretty. Picture this, you've got 43 environmental targets and commitments, and the UK government is largely on track for just 5 of them. 5! That's an 11% pass rate. If this were a GCSE exam, you'd be having a very awkward conversation with your parents and considering a career in something that doesn't require, passing things. The OEP's chairwoman, Dame Glenys Stacey, didn't mince words either. She basically said nature isn't blocking growth, it's enabling it, which feels like something we should have figured out approximately several centuries ago, when we realized we need, breathable air and drinkable water. But here's where it gets spicy. Rachel Reeves, our Chancellor, with her eyes firmly on the GDP prize, has been pushing hard on streamlining planning regulations. Translation, cutting through the red tape to get houses built and infrastructure moving. Noble goal, right? Economic growth, more homes, prosperity for all. Except there's a tiny problem. Environmental groups are absolutely losing it because they reckon this streamlining means treating protected habitats and wildlife like they're bureaucratic inconveniences, rather than, living things that keep our planet functioning. Bats, blockers, newts, nuisances, ancient woodlands, apparently just standing between us and a shiny new housing estate. Now, I'm not saying Rachel Reeves is personally out there with a bulldozer chasing great-crested newts, but the optics aren't fantastic. The watchdog specifically warned that without immediate action, we're going to miss crucial targets for 2030, including halting species decline and protecting 30% of land and sea for nature. And get this, these failures will happen on this government's watch. That's the political equivalent of being told you're about to fail the exam while you're still sitting in the classroom. It's not a maybe, it's a when, unless something changes fast. Think of it like this. Imagine your house has a massive leak in the roof. You could ignore it and focus on redecorating the living room because, hey, the living room looks terrible and needs work. But eventually, that leak is going to destroy the entire structure, rendering your lovely new sofa completely pointless because it's now a waterlogged mess. That's essentially what's happening here. You can't build long-term economic prosperity on an ecological foundation that's crumbling. Dame Glenys said it perfectly. Nature's recovery is a prerequisite for prosperity, health, and well-being. It's not extra credit, it's the foundation of the entire course.
And conservationists are not holding back. Becky Spate from the RSPB, which for those playing at home is the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, delivered an absolute zinger. Nature in England is still in freefall. Freefall, not declining gently, not struggling a bit, freefall. That's the language you use when something is catastrophically broken. She's calling for real change on the ground, proper funding for nature-friendly farming, and expanded protected sites on land and sea. Basically, all the things that cost money and require actual commitment rather than just nice-sounding policy announcements. Here's the kicker, though. The government's own analysis, straight from the Cabinet Office, highlights chronic risks to the UK from climate change, nature loss, and pollution. These aren't fringe concerns from tree-hugging activists. This is the government's own data saying these issues will worsen threats to communities, security, and the economy. The economy, the very thing Rachel Reeves is trying to boost, could be undermined by ignoring the environmental crisis. It's like trying to run a marathon while actively setting your trainers on fire. Technically possible, but why would you? Now, to be fair, Nature Minister Mary Craig has responded, saying they're taking urgent action and have set out a clear path in their new Environmental Improvement Plan, which is political speak for "we hear you, we've got a document, please stop shouting at us." The thing is, plans are lovely, but the OEP's report shows we've had plans before and we're still largely off track. This year's progress was better than last year, but it wasn't the step change needed. It's like improving from absolutely terrible to merely quite bad and expecting applause. So, what's the answer? Can Britain have its economic growth cake and eat its environmental protection too? Or are we genuinely at crossroads where we have to choose between houses and habitats, between development and diversity?
The frustrating truth is we probably don't have to choose. Nature-friendly development exists, green infrastructure creates jobs, renewable energy is economic opportunity. But it requires imagination, investment, and the political courage to tell developers they can't just bulldoze whatever's convenient. And in a political climate obsessed with quick wins and immediate growth figures, that long-term thinking is a tough sell. The stakes couldn't be higher. Miss these targets, and this government becomes the first to break crucial nature recovery laws, which is not exactly the legacy anyone wants. Get it right, and Britain could show that economic growth and environmental protection aren't opposing forces, they're partners. One thing's certain, nature isn't going to wait for politicians to figure it out. The clock's ticking, the species are declining, and Rachel Reeves has a very big decision to make about what kind of growth Britain actually needs. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.